Well, I see you're admiring the wanted posters on the wall. Those posters show the creepiest, crawliest, grossest Goosebumps characters of all time. They are the most wanted characters from the most wanted books. That poster you're studying is of Murder the Clown. Why do they call him Murder? Because he kills the audience. Don't pay attention to the axe buried in Murderer's head. He's actually a very good clown. He just happens to work at the most frightening circus on earth. A boy named Ray Gordon can tell you all about it. Ray's about a wish that he never visited the circus. So go ahead, read Ray's story. You'll find out why Murder the Clown is most wanted. Yo, people and patrons of the night. It is your boy, the Horrorlander, and we are back at it with another video. But today I'm going to be going back to my kids' horror roots, in the sense we're talking about Goosebumps again. And I'm going to be talking about the book from the Most Wanted series, A Nightmare on Clown Street. Now, this is a book, and forgive me, I got a little bit of a cold and got people in the house, there might be some noise or whatever, and my voice might not be the strongest. But A Nightmare on Clown Street is one that I feel like has grown in popularity more over the years, and it makes sense. You know, the 2015 movie, for the monsters that it did show a little bit more screen time outside of like half a frame. Murder the Clown was shown in there. The cover is very iconic. I think outside of the special editions with the Haunter, I think A Nightmare on Clown Street is my favorite most wanted cover. Beautiful cover. I love the cover, showing off Murder the Clown. And with the epidemic of clowns that happened not too long ago and Pennywise growing in popularity, I can see this one kind of gathering attention, gathering the interest of a lot of Goosebumps fans and readers out there, especially if somebody wants to pick up a modern Goosebumps book. I feel like this might be one that they gravitate towards. And it's one that I know is divisive, because some people I've heard absolutely love it, and then some people I heard are mixed on it. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the plot today without me giving too much away, and then I'll go into my negatives, my positives, and how I think about it. So without further ado, let's get into the review of Goosebumps Most Wanted, A Nightmare on Clown Street. A Nightmare on Clown Street opens up with your main character, whose name is Ray. I think his nickname is also Raygun, which is fun. He's an adventurous, kind of wilder kid. While him and his best friend are over at his house working on a science project, he ends up sneaking out to a local circus with her, and he plans on not paying and trying to get in. So he explores the circus area, tries sneaking his way in, and he has a strange encounter with this one clown guy. And you find out that his uncle, who I forget the name of, his uncle actually plays this clown kind of character called Murder the Clown, and he's at this like clown academy, which is this like circus academy out there. He lives in the trailer parks, and he does his routine and performs at the circus there. So Ray has always wanted to go and head with his uncle at this kind of circus academy, and after he has his interaction with this clown at the local circus, and his dad ends up catching him and his best friend, so he ends up getting dragged back to the house to go back and work on his science project. As he's finishing his remarks and trying to talk to the clown tells him like, hey, you don't want to go to Clown Street. And when he hears Clown Street and he asks him like what Clown Street is, the clown basically tells him indirectly like, it's bad news, you don't want to know about it. And as the story continues, Ray ends up finding out that his uncle has actually invited him during his like 2-week mini break in school to go over to the circus and basically perform with him, become a part of his routine, kind of learn how him and the clowns kind of work the circus, because that's something that Ray has had interest in. So his mom and dad reluctantly agree, because they don't know if they can trust Ray with how he acts a lot of the time. But they decide, you know what, you can go ahead and go. Also, there's a really weird remark about the parents, which is that the mother apparently used to be a model on like the dad's agency, and there's like a funny joke about how all the kids tell Ray that he's got like the hottest mom in town, which makes him feel uncomfortable, which I thought was hilarious. His mom must look like fucking prime Serena Vincent out here. But as he's accepted into the circus and he takes a bus ride and heads over there, he meets his uncle, who's in the full getup, the Murder the Clown getup, which you see in the cover, and he's performing his routine. He's like a Don Rickles, kind of roasting people and doing your typical types of jokes.
He's funnier than Slappy a lot of the time, so I got to give him credit for that. Slight Slappy shot, but Murder the Clown is a funny kind of routine and character. And when they get to the circus, he sees all your typical stuff, cotton candy being made, people walking around doing all types of, games like shooting balloons to get teddy bears. And there's a thing called a dunk clown. I think it's called dunk clown, which, a clown is sitting on top of a seat and there's this giant container of water and you have to throw baseballs and hit the target in order for that clown to be dunked. And when he gets to that attraction, his uncle is sort of like leading him on and telling him to like look away, almost as if it's like a hangman, or like public execution thing. It's just like he's telling him to like go away and not look at it. And when Ray kind of avoids his uncle's warning and looks at the Dunk-A-Clown attraction, he sees that the clown, when it gets dunked, there's like something that opens up at the bottom and it becomes like a whirlpool and he gets drained down underneath. And it's pretty elaborate. People are cheering, people are kind of excited with that, having fun. But when he sees the clown's expression in the Dunk-A-Clown attraction, he sees that he almost looks like he's in terror and he's like drowning. And it's like a really bad thing. Um, so that gets under Ray's skin. It kind of unnerves him. And as he continues through, he meets all the other clowns, all the different figures and stuff who work there. And they're just nonstop practicing their routines and having jokes. They're always in character. And eventually, this I think his name was Haha Face, the kind of ringmaster named Mr. Haha Face comes in, and I imagine that ringmaster clown from the Haunting Hour episode. Don't I think Afraid of Clowns? That's what it reminded me of. But Mr. Haha Face comes in while they're eating their like lunch or whatever in a tent, and everyone goes quiet. Everyone seems to be scared of Mr. Haha Face. There's some underlying sinister energy involving him, and other people kind of tell him like don't mess with them, he's the boss, we gotta listen to him, and you're not allowed to like take off your clown makeup. You're always supposed to be in character if you're outside your trailer, always practicing your act. So it's almost kind of like a cult type of, or like academy kind of thing. So it is quite unnerving. And as the story continues, and Murder the Clown, the uncle, ends up inaugurating Ray into becoming a clown and kind of gives him his own act. One morning, I think when they're walking towards like getting some food, a knife flies out of nowhere and shears past Ray's head into a tent flap. And, the uncle kind of tries to play it off like it's just clowns practicing their act. But the fact is that Ray almost would have gotten a knife through his head. So clearly there's some danger. And then later, when he has to move into a trailer with another clown and sort of familiarize himself with the routine, one night he hears somebody whispering his name outside of his trailer. And when he sort of gets like lured outside, he trips over like a tripwire and lands into a bunch of like fish guts and fish decapitated heads and stuff. So somebody has it out for him at this kind of clown academy. And he realizes that somebody might be trying to sabotage him in front of Mr. Ha Face. And if get Mr. Ha Face mad or you don't do well in the Clown Academy, you get sent to a place called Clown Street, which, the title plays off of A Nightmare on Clown Street. You get that idea that Clown Street might be the sort of like warped place that, a lot of failing showbiz people in the clown world get sent to. So Ray is very curious about it, but wants to stay away from it. But he feels like, my life might be in danger. And then he eventually meets this girl who is one of the acts. She turns out to be a knife thrower, and she ends up being the daughter of Mr. Ha-Ha-Face. And he initially suspects that she might have something to do with it, but she reassures him that, she's just minding her business and maybe it's somebody else. And eventually, Ray has this mystery that he has to solve as to kind of what is Clown Street, what is really going on, who has it out for him at this clown academy, and what is this like underlying sinister undertone that is at this, circus. Like, why does everyone feel like their life depends on the best performance and, doing their jobs? And, why is Uncle Theo like shooing him away from looking at certain things, talking to certain people? It's very strange. And that starts to unfold. And there's a huge reveal, which is why I can't go further because it's a big reveal, big spoiler, so I can't really talk about it in detail. But yeah, that's essentially A Nightmare on Clown Street without me giving too much away. And now I'm going to get into my positives with it and my negatives and just kind of let you know my overall thoughts. So overall, for Goosebumps Most Wanted, A Nightmare on Clown Street, this book I would have to give probably like a 6 out of 10. Okay, it's middling towards the mid area. For the positives, I have to say, it's a unique concept for a story. It is quite fun. The idea of a kid having to go to this kind of circus clown academy. It's a very fun environment. I've never explicitly been scared of clowns. That, a few of them can be creepy with their makeup, but I've never had any explicit fear. And I've been to circuses before. I think I've been to one circus when I was a kid for one of my birthdays. So I've had that experience with that sort of environment. And it is fun, kind of re-engaging and reassessing with that type of location. It's a nice setting. The mystery behind what's really going on with the entertainers, the clowns, the circus, and what could be happening behind the scenes is creepy. It's a creepy mystery, and the whole knife throwing and tripwire and sabotaging kind of makes you really like get immersed in the story. And I think that is a positive to A Nightmare on Clown Street is you get immersed in the mystery. You're really wanting to know what is really going on. And I think the, duality or dichotomy between, having this very creepy thing kind of happening behind the scenes and at the same time having this sort of, normalized, very fun, very cheerful environment, almost like PR, HR trained kind of stuff. Really cool, really nice. And I think that this book definitely gets creative points. I think Stein was definitely being creative with this one. And those are my positives. But as for the negatives, this book, I think, is dragged on a little bit for the mystery. I mean, I was at like page 111 and the reveal still did not happen. So, you are engaged, but you almost get to the point where you're like, okay, can we get more information on Clown Street? Can you like speed up things? Can we have like a little bit more time, a little bit more kind of, I guess, engagement with like what's the underlying scheme? Because at the 111 page mark, you don't really know what is the creepy stuff. It's not like Stein is like gradually spilling out what's the creepy stuff going on. It's just leaving you in the dust, kind of building up to that moment. And then eventually you get this giant reveal. So it almost feels like it's just like a dam where there's like water building up, and then all at once everything just goes to like straight level 100, which I don't think is necessarily the best way to structure the book. You could have had like little by little by little reveals of what's going on in the story, what's going on with Clown Street, what's going on with the Academy as it's continuing. And my biggest gripe is the fucking reveal itself. Bro, I love batshit. I love crazy, wild stories, crazy, wild horror stories. Um, and I think that they work, sometimes, especially even in kids' horror. Like, Beast from the East is a crazy, wild book from what I know of the premise. I haven't read it, but I heard the premise, I've heard the story a little bit, and I know that it's a wild one, but it works. It has a kind of theme to it. And another one that I've not gotten a chance to read yet, but I know it's crazy, is there's a Give Yourself Goosebumps book called The Creepy Creations of Professor Shock, I think is the name. And there's like a Wizard of Oz storyline where you get transported to this like messed up like Alice in Wonderland place where like the grass is purple, there's flying sharks, there's crocodile lions. When you run forward, you go backwards, all this type of crazy weird stuff. But it works. It has a sort of uniform kind of theme to it. And it goes full, balls to the wall fun. In Nightmare on Clown Street, it's a huge reveal. It's bad shit, but it is so mind-numbingly like stupid and dumb in a sense because Stein tries to make it realistic too. So it's just completely derailed and it's completely kind of just shits the bed. I'm not gonna lie, this book shits the fucking bed. Because when you get this big reveal as to, what is going on with Clown Street, what is the big underlying, behind the scenes stuff, it is, without giving spoiler, it's like this scheme, this mastermind fucking Pixar movie kind of scheme that's happening behind the scenes, and it's so random, and Stein doesn't try to make it like full occult, full supernatural, full creature feature, full Lovecraftian or anything of that sort. He tries making it like realistic. He tries making it seem like this is something that could just happen in real life. Like what the fuck, dude? Like that. If you're gonna go full crazy, you should have went like full balls to the wall wild with it. You know, you should have just went full like supernatural. And supernatural doesn't mean ghost. You know, some people think that supernatural means ghost. No, supernatural means like out of the natural. You know, it's more than the natural. It's extraordinary. That's what I mean. You know, it could be monsters, could be ghosts, could be, you know, Lovecraft, could be anything, could be absolutely anything. But the fact that he tries to make it realistic with it seeming like this is like a human threat could do all this type of crazy stuff, that is ridiculous. It is so wild. It's so stupid. And I just completely lost interest. And then it gets to like super goofy stuff. It's not even scary. It's just ridiculous and goofy. It almost feels like some shit you would see in a Give Yourself Goosebumps book. Like all over the place. Give Yourself Goosebumps. Even though this is a mainline book, which is not a good thing. So yeah, for that climax, and the fact that the mystery dragged on just to have that climax and that ending, which that ending is fucking, you know, it's supposed to be creepy, but it's just ripping off Afraid of Clowns and from the Haunting Hour and the Nightmare Hour collection. So it's a mess. This book is a mess. You know, it had a really good setup, but it turns into a mess. I gotta give it a 6 out of 10. Okay. You know, I wish I could talk more about the actual climax, but I can't. But, you know, do I recommend you guys still check it out? I mean, yeah, there are people who love it, and I've seen a number of people who love this book or really like it. So if you don't have a problem with any type of like story being coherent or, you know, trying to feel like it's doing something that makes sense, you can just go ahead and read it. Again, I don't mind the fact that it doesn't make sense. That's not like a problem. The problem with the climax being bad shit is not the fact that it doesn't make sense. It's the fact that he tries making it crazy and then also trying to make it seem realistic. And when you do that, it's an absolute train wreck. And it just completely takes you out of the story. And there's even one thing where like one of the suspects as to what's going on early on is like kind of hinted that, okay, maybe not. And then you find out it is them. So it's like, why even try to lead me on thinking that it couldn't be them? Doesn't make much sense. So yeah, I give it a 6 out of 10. It's an okay book. It's in the mid tier and not really one that I would want to ever reread or revisit. I just feel like it was a big waste of my time. Cover is great. Idea is great. Execution is kind of poor. So yeah, that's all I got for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys agree with me, or even if you guys disagree with me, free way to support. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and comment down below, and share this video with as many people as you feel comfortable sharing it with. Stay tuned for more content to come. I can't guarantee any type of books specifically off the top of my head that I'll review, but look forward to more content. And comment down below. I feel like a lot of you guys have probably read this book, and I know there's quite a few reviewers out there who've reviewed it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And stay tuned until the next time that I see you. Deuces.